You took time to learn how to dive, and you should take time to learn what it is you're seeing there. And as an instructor, I can't tell you how many times I've been on, boats where someone comes up to me and says, what was that thing? And it takes a little work, but the idea of the next 45 minutes or so is to give you just sort of something you can walk out of here with, and just an easy to follow system as to how to figure out what the heck it is that you're seeing. So that's the overall goal. So the first things to start off with is, that's a fish. That is not a fish. And we got about 43 minutes now for questions, if you have any questions. All right. These are fish, as you well know, from all over the place. And like I said, there really is a commonality in a lot of things. One thing we're going to talk about a lot is shape. Shape is a big deal when we're talking about fish. And there'll be things where you will be in one part of the world and go dive in another part of the world and see something, say, well, that sort of looks like something I saw at home or whatever. And that is absolutely true. So the idea is to help you answer that big question: what are these things? So the first step really is to build up your knowledge database. And, there are 2,500 species of fish in the Indo-Pacific area. There's about 250 species of fish in the Southern California area. It's really interesting, actually, when you do species counts. You try to figure out where life on Earth started. And one thing they do is they'll count fish species. And what you do, there's an assumption that the fish life started, or life on Earth started somewhere in around Indonesia and that general area, because the fish species count there is the highest it is anywhere. And you figure as species migrate, not all of them make it. So as you go further and further away from where you think the center is, you get fewer and fewer and fewer fish. So like you get over to Palau and there's like 2,000 fish. And you get over to Hawaii and there's I'm making this number up, 400 fish. And you get here and there's 250. And that sort of, all makes sense. So you can sit here at one point and go, there is no way in hell I can learn, 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 fish. But again, there's a lot of commonality between the areas. So building up your knowledge database is not as hard as it may seem initially. So these are a lot of the fish books that I have at home laid out on some sheet that I had. And time I'm going anywhere around the world, I'm trying to find fish books. And if you can find fish books that are written by a local, going to give you even probably a little bit better information. There's a couple I'll go through in just a minute that are written by local people that absolutely have fish in them that aren't in the more general books. This is my latest pride and joy. I was in Easter Island a couple of months ago, and right before I went there, I wanted to see, and I've been there a couple of times, but could I find a fish ID book specific to Easter Island? And Lord love Google, I Googled, and on Amazon, from the University of Hawaii, out of print, $5 plus $5 shipping, and I got Shore Fishes of Easter Island. So again, it's a type of thing where I like to go, with something in my hands. Now, someone mentioned it at the talk yesterday, and it's a great idea. A lot of these books now, not all of them, but come in a digital form that you can download to your phone. So if you don't want to travel with a bunch of books, put stuff on your phone or on your laptop, and that's a great way to look at stuff. One thing I pride ourselves, we had Reef Seekers was open as an actual brick and mortar store in Beverly Hills for about 18 years. And one thing we always prided ourselves on, we had a really good book collection, because sometimes it's hard to find good scuba books. But again, use Amazon. But the Caribbean will have the thickest books and the most, because a lot of people dive the Caribbean. Paul Heumann, along with Ned Deloach, were based in Florida, so they were doing lots of trips to Bonaire and places like that. So they had a really good database there. And with some of these, you'll get it broken down, like the Caribbean stuff is broken down. There's one for fish. There's one for reef creatures. There's even one for coral. And yes, it's a good way to get another $30 out of you, but that's not necessarily intent. But some of the other places you may find they combine all the stuff together, like Baja down to Panama. That's That's not too bad. And that'll cover you from the end of Southern California all down to the Panama area. So if you're diving Cocos, that's a great book to have. Diving Socorro, that's a great book to have. On the left is one of the original fish ID books, Gerald Allen and Roger Steen, who you'll notice they're on the right-hand one too. Allen and Steen are two researchers and fish guys. I don't know if they were from Singapore, but that area. And they just did this phenomenal Indo-Pacific book that has fish and corals in it and all kinds of great stuff. They eventually ended up teaming up with the Paul Heumann people are under New World Publications. So that's why you've got all the various names there. And if you get a copy of Reef Fish, a Tropical Pacific, you'll see them on it now. I'll get into how the books look in just a second or two. And again, pride and joy. First time I went to the Maldives, you would make stops at little villages, and I'd go to the local store and I'd try to see, well, what do we got? And I was able to find all 3 volumes of this out of print fish ID book. And again, in the front, you're laughing in the front in a good way, because I am a fish book geek. And there's these things that, oh, look at that. Oh, I got my Easter Island book, and I don't have time to go do that. I got to go, go read my book. So I love looking at little things like that. Again, looking at the idea of local knowledge, Casey Mahaney, I'm not sure if he still works for Aggressor or not, but he was Aggressor captain for a long time, lived in Hawaii, and there are definitely fish in this book that you won't find in the general books. So just sometimes you got to look. And again, Google's a great reference that if you Google Hawaiian fish ID, you may get 10, 12 different things. So just sort of check each one and you may find that there's a hidden gem in there somewhere. All the Paul Heumann New World Publication books are sort of laid out like this, where you've got the description of the fish going down the right-hand side, as you will notice, and sometimes they flip the photos to do it. All the fish face into the spine of the book. So they're all going to the faces are all going to be on the left. But the nice thing is they're going to give you the name. They're going to give you the scientific name. As I've said many, many times, and we'll say again, I stink at scientific names. I'm pretty good at the common names, but don't tell me the scientific names. With a couple of exceptions, I won't remember them. You do get sometimes on the the left-hand side, you'll get distinctive features. So it'll tell you what to look for in this given fish, the description of the fish, and TP and IP, if you can read those, terminal phase and intermediate phase, just different phases of the fish. Terminal does not mean they're going to die. It just means they're not changing anymore. Abundance and distribution, that's always a good one, to look at. Common to uncommon, or whatever it happens to be, and give you a real good idea. Is this something really special that I just saw? Or am I wrong in my description? Does not exist in wherever. Now, again, I mentioned yesterday, there's one fish, it's a Cortez surgeonfish, I think is what it was. But in many of the Paul Heumann books, it says, does not exist in lower Baja. And I'm diving at 𝘿𝘼𝙏𝙀, which is a great seamount off of La Paz. And I'm going like, wait, they're all, and I'm just taking pictures of all these guys that aren't supposed to exist here. And then I send them off to Paul and he goes, well, in the next edition, we'll update that. So also you may find that you can be the source of information for some new stuff in whatever next edition that they're going to do. This is the way the original Allen and Steen books were laid out. Lots of information, let me rephrase that. Lots of pictures and stuff like that, but not a lot of information on each individual. Certainly nothing like you would get there. You got the fish, you got the common name, you got the scientific name, you probably get a size, maybe where they're found, but again, it's just a couple of lines. And of course, you'll notice they're not all facing into the spine. It's so funny. I do, as some of you know, I volunteer at the aquarium of the Pacific and have for like 28 years. And I do all of our fish ID photos and stuff like that. And it just gets as I'm laying stuff out. And partly because I guess I'm just anal at heart. I got to have the fish facing into the middle. So if I do like 4 across, the 2 on the left are going to face this way, 2 on the right are going to face. It just looks weird to me when it's like they're going like, no, don't bother. Like giving you a side eye or something like that. Anyhow, so that's step 1 is build up your knowledge base. Try to get some books. And again, a lot of this stuff you might be able just to download a chart or something like that off of the internet. Number 2 is do your homework. All right. Depending on where you're going, Gesundheit. Depending on where you're going, I'm going to be going to Roatan in a couple of weeks. I got a 4-hour plane ride from LA. I got a 3-hour layover in Houston, and I got a 4-hour plane ride down to Roatan. I'll flip through my fish books. If you're going to the Indo-Pacific, or especially someplace you haven't gone before, you got a 12 or 14-hour plane ride ahead of you, like Easter Island, 11 hours down to Santiago, 2.5-hour layover, 5 hours out to Easter Island. You got plenty of time to do your homework. And homework really is take the books and just look through them page by page. You don't have to read a lot of stuff, but sort of get the pictures of the fish more or less in your head, because you will go down and you will dive and you'll say, oh, I know I saw, and you'll go back and you'll be able to find it in your book. So that's a great place to do the homework. So the first thing, if any of you have ever looked at fish, will be to say, does anyone know what kind of fish? Not specifically what it is, but what kind of a fish is that? Hawkfish. Very good. Does anyone know what specific kind of hawkfish it is? Yes, correct. Long-nosed hawkfish. Very commonly found all over the world. Anyone know what kind of a fish that is? In general. I'll give you a hint. What was this? What kind of? So guess what? What do you think this is? I'm not trying to trick you yet. That comes later on. That is also a hawkfish. Anyone know what specifically it is? It is not a short-nosed hawkfish. What? A blunt-nosed, short-nosed hawkfish. It's a wise guy hawkfish. There's a joke I like to do when I show a wrasse. I tell people it's a you betcha wrasse. They go, you betcha wrasse? I said, no, there's no you betcha wrasse. Anyhow, that is a coral hawkfish. Anyone know what that type of fish that is? Here's the hint. Hawkfish. What type of fish that is? Hawkfish. Very good. Anyone know what kind it is? It's 3 feet long. It's called a giant hawkfish. Now, that's true. Anyone know what that is? Now, again, here's the pattern. Hawkfish. Oh, it's a hawkfish. How about, anyone want to know what kind of a hawkfish it is? It's the juvenile of the one you just saw. Now, when I first saw that in La Paz, outside of La Paz, a place called Las Animas, fabulous dive spot, 80 miles sort of northeast of La Paz. Very few dive boats go visit it. I haven't been there in years, but because there's no more liveaboards in La Paz. But it's like halfway between Las Animas, halfway between La Paz and Loreto. So it's out of the range of the day boats of both. So it was a really, really cool place to dive. And I'm doing my safety stop at the end of the dive at the little rock stuff called the Pinnacles, which is off the east side of the island of Las Animas. And I'm in about 10 feet of water. And I see this little guy. And I got my I always have my camera. And I go, what the hell is that? I must take a picture. So then the next things you hear, again, 10 feet of water, safety stop, surge, you hear, ah! So the ah is as I'm getting raked across the barnacles. And the is as my goddamn shot's out of focus. So it took me a while to get one in focus. And then it really took me about a year to figure out what this was and find some documentation as to what it was. Because this guy's only about maybe 1 inch to 2 inches long. So I'm shooting with my macro lens, my 105 macro, and finally figured out it was the juvenile. And so if you look at the coloration, let me rephrase that. Look at the pattern, not so much the colors. And I'll back up. Look at the pattern. So look at the pattern. Color's very different. Look at the pattern. You're under my control. So what we have here are 4 different, all hawkfish, but 4 different guys. We have the long nose, we have the coral, we have the giant, and we have the itsy bitsy giant, aka the juvie. But again, the point is all hawkfish. And so part of what you want to learn to do here as you're trying to identify fish is we need to figure out sort of what are they generally? And then we can drill down and get to be what are they specific. So it leads us into step 3, which is do not make it complicated. It really can be overwhelming, but it ain't all that tough. So you may remember from biology class 100 years ago kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Forget about the first 5. We don't care. We do care about genus and species. So genus is sort of the general thing, hawkfish. Species is specifically what it is, long nose, coral, giant, whatever. And when we talk about these things, we reverse it, because we don't say it's a hawkfish long nose, we say it's a long nose hawkfish. But when you're trying to figure out what it is, start with the general and then get to the specific. And the reason that makes sense is, I get to the general thing, oh, it's a hawkfish. Well, now I'm going to look through 40 hawkfish pictures instead of, oh, it's a fish. I'm going to look through 2,500 pictures. So this will help a lot. So here we go. 𝘿𝘼𝘾𝘼𝙏𝙄𝙊𝙉. Local fish, assuming some of you dive locally. What kind of a fish is it? A goby. Very good. Whoops. I thought I just had goby pop up. And what kind specifically? A blue-banded goby, also AKA a 𝘿𝘼𝘾𝑼𝑛𝑎 goby. Some of these names make sense. Notice it has blue bands. Okay. It is a goby first. It is a blue-banded goby second. But again, we talk about it as a blue-banded goby. Now, remember, there's a pattern. Hawkfish, 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 hawkfish. If I started with the goby, what do you think this is? Ah, it's a goby. Now, what kind of a goby? Did someone say black-eyed? Good. And that's exact. Well, Susie, wait, you're a veterinarian. You can't play either. She may have an advantage on you in the knowledge base. Yes. There you go. And if anyone wants to know, no, they're not good eating. They're only an inch long. Yeah, a black-eyed goby is the other one. So we have the black-eyed goby, the blue-banded goby. I do not have a picture, but does anybody know what the third goby is? Which one? Zebra goby. Looks a lot like the blue-banded, faded colors, and I think the stripes are a little closer together. But that brings up the other cool thing. If you know there's 3 kinds of gobies at 𝘿𝘼𝘾𝑼𝑛𝑎, and specifically if you dive the underwater park, they're in the underwater park. Now you can say, I want to go look for this, that, or whatever. You'll find the blue-banded. If you don't find the blue-banded goby, you have to mail me back your certification card. You are not qualified to dive. But you go look and put in your head, oh, I want to go find, make it a little scavenger hunt for yourself. I want to go find this. Because I'll tell you, the zebra gobies are there in the underwater park, but they're also very skittish. You see them and they scoot back in the little hole, but they're there to be found. So it's a fun thing to do. The other cool thing you'll notice at times, and these are a good example, when we dive the channel, sometimes you don't, how many of you, how do I want to do this? How many of you do dive California, at least occasionally? Is there anyone, and it's okay if you raise your hand, is anyone does not dive California at all? Okay. California sometimes referred to as like the American Galapagos. It's a really cool place to go dive. But the very interesting thing about diving the Channel Islands, so we have 8 Channel Islands, 4 Southern Channel Islands, 4 Northern Channel Islands. And so we have Clemente, Catalina, Santa Barbara, and San Nicolas are the lower Channel Islands, Southern Channel Islands. Anacapa, Santa Rosa, Santa Cruz, and San Miguel, the Northern Channel Islands. The Southern Channel Islands form the northernmost boundary for a number of species of fish. The Northern Channel Islands form the southernmost boundary for other species of fish. So that if you go dive Catalina, you're going to see gobies, blue-banded gobies everywhere. You go dive Anacapa, not so many, because there's a boundary line right there. So the cool thing about diving in Southern California is we got that sort of line of demarcation. And if you look on a map, how far it is, it's not that far, but it's far enough, fish-wise, between the Northern Channel Islands and the Southern Channel Islands, you can see how, oh yeah, I could see where sometimes they won't, other fish won't get up that high or down that low. So just something to go back with. And so when we're talking about our gobies here, it brings up 3 things that we're going to be looking into that become really, really key. What's the shape of the animal? So you can see these 2 gobies are pretty much shaped the same. What's the habitat they're living in? They're both living in sort of, a rocky, algae-covered area. And what's their behavior? Well, they're sitting on the rocks, and when you get too close, they're going to scoot. So these are things that when you start looking at that kind of information, will tell you tell you what's what. Number 4, use common names, not scientific names. What do you think we got here? Anyone know the scientific name? Go ahead. I dare you to say that. I call it the 𝘿𝘼𝘾𝘼𝙏𝙀𝙀. I said, if any of you heard the why divers die thing yesterday, I sound like I'm diving on meth when I say that, and I am not, and I'm not drunk either. It is better known as a blue stripe grunt. All right, so to me, it's just so much easier for us to do the common names. If you want to impress all your friends, feel free to do the scientific names. Now, the thing to understand about common names is there may be multiples of them. One good example, I don't have a picture of it here, but just to tell you, zebra shark, which we have over at the aquarium in the Pacific, okay? Lovely, lovely shark. But if you go to New Zealand or Australia, they're known as leopard sharks because they're spotted. Does anyone know why they're called zebra sharks, by the way? Why are they called zebra shark? Not in your head. Yes, when they're babies, they have a stripe pattern that then turns into the spots as they get older. Anyhow, so I'm a big fan of common names, but again, remember, someone may call this, it's a blue striped snapper. Maybe talking about the same fish. Learn some basic fish anatomy, which we're going to go through right now. Some of this is based on the Paul Heumann book, so some other places may not call this exactly this, and Susie, our veterinarian back there, may not say this is exactly scientifically right, but again, common names, not scientific names. So let's go through. Dorsal fins are really, really good things to know about. Obviously, you'll get an idea of the body of the fish. But when we're talking about the dorsal fins, it's broken down into a couple of things. You have the fin spines all the way in the front there, the spiky part, and the spiny or dorsal, which is the front half of the dorsal fin. And you all know dorsal fin, when I say dorsal, that's the top fin we're talking about. And the back half is called the soft or the rear dorsal. We have the tail fin, okay, which is the back, also known as the caudal fin, caudal. We have the anal fin, which is at the bottom, sort of in the back. And when you come to the middle of fish, there's two kinds of fins. There's the ventral fin, which really are on the bottom of the fish, not to be confused with the pectoral fins, which sort of sit out on the side. And remember too, most of these fins can fold in fairly flat. So sometimes it's hard, especially pectoral, ventral, it's hard to distinguish what's what. But if you get an idea, if the fish is displaying for you, going, wah, you should see all of those things. Markings on the fish, very important too. And again, here, some people may use slightly different stuff. We're calling anything that is a vertical marking a bar. We're calling a well-defined a spot within a ring of another color an oscillated spot. And we may have line markings radiating from around the eye. Stuff around the eye, stuff around the mouth, sometimes pretty good indicators, especially like if you're looking at parrotfish. Holy cow. They have real subtle variations. So sometimes you just want to pay real close attention. And by the way, there's two ways, that you're going to go about it. If you've got a camera in your hand, take a picture of whatever it is you're looking at. Even if it's a bad picture, take a picture, because then you can really drill down and look at stuff, when you're back on the boat or back on shore. If you don't have a picture, just see as much as you can, take a snapshot in your head. But if you got a camera, that's going to help a lot. Anything that's horizontal, we're calling a stripe. We've got a spot, is just a well-defined mark at the back. We have speckles or freckles, just sort of fine spots. Diagonal is bands. A blotch is an irregular thing at the back. And then thin lines are markings. Thin markings what we call lines. And some people may call anything vertical, a bar instead of a band. And, if you switch them around, as long as you all know what you're talking about and you refer to it the same way, you're fine. There's no, anything, rock bottom. My absolute favorite words, fish anatomy terms, these two I urge you to memorize. The gill covering of the fish is called the operculum. I just love that word. I don't know why, but I say it as often as I can. And you have to say it softly. Operculum. And it would be a great word. It's like, they just had the script spelling bee. Now, your word is operculum. Can you use that in a sentence? The operculum covers the fish's gills. So I like operculum. The other thing I love, although it sounds like it's perverse, is the caudal peduncle. The caudal peduncle is the part that attaches the tail to the body of the fish. Now, not only is it a great name, but it serves a very good purpose. Think of what a giant sea bass looks like. And they've got a big flat tail. And they have a fairly thick caudal peduncle because you need that muscle to move that big tail to move that big fish. Now think of, if you can think of what a golden trevally or any trevally looks like. They have a forked tail. They have a skinny caudal peduncle because they want to whip that tail back and forth so they can go flying through the water. So even though caudal peduncle is a fabulous phrase, it also will give you an idea of how fast a fish can move. Thick caudal peduncle, slowish fish. Skinny caudal peduncle, fast fish. So just other stuff to know. So I got a 6-point system for you, ironically step 6, for figuring out what is what in key fish figures. And we'll go through these one by one, but this is what the 6 are. Color or size, sorted together. Shape, and these are sort of in the order that if you just get a glimpse of something, the longer you look at something, the more of these things you're going to be able to determine. So color, size, you're going to get pretty quickly. What's the shape? Was it resting or swimming? If this fish swims off, you now can remember that once it's gone. Were there any distinguishing marks? That's a big one. How did they move or swim? And what depth or habitat were they at? Where'd you find them? So there are definitely things, and again, in the Paul Human books, you'll see a lot of this, and you're going to see like a slide towards the end where the fish does not live above 100 feet. So I was at 115 feet to take the picture, and we know that. So let's go through these, and we'll start with color and size, and I'm going to give you some descriptions, and except for the 4 that I've said can't play the game, because you've heard the questions before, we'll see what's what. So if I tell you Southern California and something, someone goes, oh yeah, right, orange. I know what that is. Orange and the size of my hand, what is it? Correct, that is a Garibaldi. Now, this is where I get to blow your mind. How many do you think the Garibaldi is the state fish of California? Wrong. Yes. So first of all, the state fish of California is the golden trout. The way to remember that, we're the golden state, it's the golden trout. But you are correct that the California marine fish is the Garibaldi. A friend of mine, Steve Benavides, is the one who drafted the bill. I don't know what year they declared it that way. But there are 2 different things. So also, if you want to win a bet with a smug diver friend of yours, bet them that they don't know what the state fish of California is. When they go, oh, sure I do. It's the Garibaldi. You say, no, it's the golden trout. And you collect whatever your winnings were. And as I mentioned, I love, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging on my own pictures, but I love this picture. This was taken in my film days and shooting with the Nikonis. And on the Nikonis, you couldn't like change lenses and stuff underwater. So I had a close-up lens on, which was a snap-on lens over the regular Nikonis lens, and it had a framer on it. And so the idea was you wanted to get the fish in the framer, and that was the focal distance. So I'm sitting there, this is at Emerald Bay in Catalina, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just at my camera, I'm holding it, but the camera's facing straight up. And this Garibaldi was nose down, and because he's seen his reflection in the flat port of the thing, and he's sitting right inside the framer, and I'm just going, stop, stop, stop. So that actually what that lovely blue you see behind him is actually the sky, because he's just going, hey, who is that in there? Another quick question, knowing fish will look at each other. Again, I work over at the aquarium, and a lot of times, wrasses, especially male wrasses, the way they decide who the tough male wrasse is, they do a face-to-face face-off, and they open their mouths as wide as they can and hold that, and they go like tooth to tooth, and until one of them gives up. So knowing this picture is in my history, and we have a nice big sheephead, which is a wrasse, in our main Blue Cavern exhibit. I said, because we noticed, I also do the cameras at the aquarium. And so we noticed the fish would go up to the cameras because we had flat port cameras. And they're like staring at the flat port camera all the time. Well, we switched to these dome cameras and they weren't coming up. So I said, what would be great? We should put a mirror down there and have the fish come up to the mirror, because our cameras are all on explore.org. And we want you guys to be able to see our fish at all times if you're not over at the aquarium. So they said, okay, Ken, go ahead and do that. So I go to Home Depot and you buy a pack of these little mirror, they're like 2 by 2 foot for $10, 10 mirrors for $10. I take the first one down, I put it right in front of the camera. And the next day I get a call from the aquarium and said, don't ever do that again. I said, what happened? So the fish went to do a face-off with his reflection, smashed the mirror, and sliced his chin open. Yeah, no kid. For the fish, too. So I'm glad the Garibaldi didn't hurt himself there. What's the common thing here? We got a Garibaldi. What are the other fish? What type of fish are they? Damselfish. Garibaldi is the largest damselfish in the world. Bet you didn't know that. There you go. Well, you did because you guys were here yesterday. But these are all damselfish from different parts of the world. So again, if you sort of look at the shapes again, you're going to see a similarity in shape, similarity in behavior. By the way, damselfish, as you probably know, for those who especially dive the Caribbean, the most aggressive fish in the world, and thank God they're only a couple of inches long. There's this one little damselfish in Bonaire when I used to get out on the buddy dive ladder, and I'd be sitting there taking my fins off, and I feel this little pinching on my, and this little damselfish go, get out of there, you fish. So anyhow, so we got color and size. We're going to go with shape. Look at all those fish. Sort of cigar shape, elongated, whatever words you want to use. Those fish, none of those fish have ever met each other, because Southern California, Easter Island, Indonesia, and Palau, radically different geographic areas, but notice how the shape is pretty much the same. One thing you'll notice very definitively on the top 2 fish, you see the pectoral fins are extended. Every wrasse in the world swims with their pectoral fins. If it doesn't swim with its pectoral fins, it's not a wrasse. If it's a wrasse, it's going to swim with its pectoral fins. Something to know. We talk about shape. Let's do a little shape testing here. Not shape shifting, but shape testing. I know these aren't fish. What do we got there? What do you think? Just in general, what are those 2 things circled? Anemone, some sort of anemone. What's that? Who said angelfish? Someone said tribble. No, not trouble with tribbles. Angelfish. How about that? Okay, but what type of a fish is a tang? What? Butterfly. We're going butterflies here. Yeah, butterflies here. But the tangs are similarly shaped. Crab. Sailfish, swordfish, something like that. Whale, some sort of a whale. Probably a manta ray if you look at the lobes. Those 2 guys, shark, very good. Dolphins. You know how to tell the difference between a dolphin and a shark, especially from a distance? All cetacean, dolphins, cetaceans, all cetacean tails up and down. Tails up and down. Fish tails, left and right. If it's up and down, it's a cetacean. If it's left and right, it's a fish. Don't anybody tell me the halibut tail goes up and down because the goddamn thing's on its side. Right? Just to be clear. What we got there? Some sort of a ray. How about that one? I have no idea. I don't know what the hell that is. This is not my graphic. It's like something eating a jellyfish while it's on meth. I don't know. Anyhow. But the point is, when you look at all of these, just by that kind of a silhouette, you can get a pretty good idea where you narrow down what's what. And that just is to underscore how important shape is going to be in your quest to figure out what's what. So, this should be easy. Red and blue, small, elongated. Catalina. Goby. Blue-banded goby. Do you have cataracts? I kid about cataracts, by the way. I did have cataracts. How many of you are over the age of 50. Right. You're probably going to get cataracts eventually. And it's horrible how yellow you don't realize how yellow everything is. When I had my first cataract, now remember, I'm doing photos all the time and I'm color balancing things. And when I got my first cataract done, I would just sit there and do this, back and forth on that. It was like, holy shit, I had to redo most of my photos because what I thought was white was not white. Yes, that's red. Let's look at, that's fine. That's fine. You can leave now, by the way. I will give you this. The tail is a little bit of orange, but look, and there is a little bit of a color change. Look at the tail. Look at the head. The head's certainly more red than the tail is. And I can't easily go back to the Garibaldi shot to show you orange, but close enough. I mean, the other thing to remember in all seriousness is, and if you're photographing, depending on how good your camera is, depending on how good the lighting is, stuff will look slightly different. And even from what you might see in the books. And so sometimes you got to do a little bit of interpretation and interpolation as well. So resting or swimming becomes a thing here. So here's the deal. This is a tropical fish. They're purple and yellow. And this is going to be a tough one for you, mate. They're small, inch or two long, slightly elongated, and they're hovering or swimming. What do you think? I know it. It's that. No, not a starfish. It's that fish. Oh, dartfish. No, not a dartfish. Anyone ever seen that before? Really? Okay. Fairy basslet. Okay. Very common fish, especially Indo-Pacific, Indonesia, that area. But I'm pretty sure they're found in the Caribbean as well. They're also known as a lipstick fish. Why? Because it's like they're wearing lipstick. Every one of them has that. Even the males have the red streak around there, and we're not going to go into sexual stuff here. But yeah, it's sort of a cool fish, and for what it's worth, photographically, hard shot to get. I mentioned the other day, I love shooting what I call dead on head on. That's not quite dead on head on, but I love shooting dead on head on. Hardest shot as a photographer to get because the fish has to absolutely be trusting of you. Distinguishing marks. Here we go. Local fish. Orange with a white stripe, sort of small, maybe 3-5 inches long, sort of cigar shaped, tapered nose, generally hovering or swimming. Key thing, 5 black spots on his fins. Juvenile, close. Yes, very good. People usually don't get that one. The white stripe and the black spots, and it's a little hard to see, but there's a spot right in the middle. The front part of the dorsal is down, and the ventral fin is down, but there are black spots on that too. But yeah, so that is a juvenile sheephead. Yeah, and we'll come back. We're going to run through the whole life cycle of a sheephead in just a minute or two. How they move or swim. We got pinkish fish, 10-12 inches long, tapered nose, swims around, white chin, canine teeth. That alone should give it off to you. Swims with pectoral fins, so it's going to be a type of wrasse. Could be any kind of sheep, but this is the female sheephead, okay? With the white chin and stuff like that. So there's the juvenile. There's the female. Note the shape is pretty much the same. And again, the thing to understand with the sheephead, the life cycle of the sheephead is they all start out as females. So they start with juveniles, and then they all become females. Depending on the number of females on a given reef area, one of them will become a dominant male, and they will change. They'll grow bigger. They'll change color and distinguishing marks as well. We'll get a picture of one in just a second. And what's interesting, at the aquarium we had for a number of years, we had a male in our Blue Cavern exhibit who died, and we had 3 females in there too. And it was interesting. One of them, the change takes like 6-7 months, but one of them started changing into a male. So it's very, very cool. What depth or what habitat were they in? Gray with a white underbelly, 3 feet across with a long tail, round or diamond shaped, local fish. I can never remember if it's lying or laying. I think it's laying I think people lie and other things lay. Laying on the bottom, no discernible markings, flaps its wings when swimming in the sand 30 feet deep at Catalina? Bat ray. And you have to do the bat ray song when you see these do 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 bat ray. That is a bat ray. Thing about bat rays, because you don't want them to do that. You don't want them to take off. If you want to try to approach a bat ray, slowly is good. Keep an eye on their wings. As they start to get nervous, the wings will go down a little bit. The tips will come up a little bit. They're going to start to raise up a little bit, and then they're going to take off. So if you can move slowly enough, sometimes you can get around the front of them where they can see what's going on. You can get a nice encounter with the bat ray. So those are the six things: color, size, shape, resting, swimming, distinguishing marks. How do they move? Depth or habitat. Now that you're all experts, because they're tight again, we're going to try a few. And yes, I lied. There's a test. But it's not written. It's an oral test. So here we go. Let's take a look at some of the various stuff. We're going to start with Southern California. We got about 5 or 6 in each one. It's 4:45. We'll finish on time. Here we go. Who's that? Male sheephead. Very common fish here in California. Absolutely right. My absolute favorite male sheephead shot in the underwater park. As I said, took me about 10 minutes to get the shot. He's on the side. He's keeping an eye on me. I don't know how often I shoot with a nice dome port. I know the fish can see themselves in the port. So I don't know if he's looking, thinking there's another fish in there. Thank God he didn't try to ram it like the one at the aquarium did. But, anytime you can get a shot like that of the fish head on photographically, that fish is just really, really trusting of you. So I just love that shot. Very charismatic fish. What do we got here? Juvenile sheephead. Absolutely right. So here's the life cycle of the sheephead. Juvenile on top, female on the left, male on the right. And you can see the male, again, very distinguishable. Notice the bump on the head, common in the wrasse family when they become terminal males. Black at the front and back, pinkish in the middle, white, big white chin. Juvie, female. Come on. There we go, male. What do we got here? Very common California fish. Someone said calico or a kelp bass. Both names acceptable. Okay, one or the other. If you dive the underwater park, you'll be mobbed by bass at the entry. What we got here? Rock wrasse. What kind of a rock wrasse? Did you say female? Very good. So we do have rock wrasses here. Again, slender fish swim with the pectoral fins. That's the male. So the bar and that dark bar in the middle, that's what tells you it's a male. There's the female. Female's turned a little bit towards the camera. The male's flat onto the camera. But you can see coloration the same, size and shape the same. But again, the male has that bar. Little tougher. Common California fish, though. Who said kelp? Kelp rockfish? Kelp rockfish. Hard because technically they got no distinguishing marks. They're just sort of that whitish cream color, and that's what you got. All right, we went for the easy stuff in California. Let's take a look real quick at the Caribbean. Very common Caribbean fish. First of all, what kind is it? Butterfly, correct. How would you describe it? Go the other way. Bands. It's a banded butterfly. Okay? Common fish. What's this one? What type is this? Also butterfly. What would you call this guy? Close. 4-eye butterfly. What we call in the back. Remember, there's 2 more on the other side of it. That's where the 4 eyes comes from. We're not making fun of her wearing glasses or anything like that. What's in the back there is known as a false eye. So the idea is, evolutionarily, is that eye developed so that a predator sees that big eye in the back, thinks that's the front of the fish, makes a strike to the back of the fish, and the fish scoots away the other way. So false eyes are common in a lot of different fish. What do we got here? Angelfish. What kind of an angelfish? Nope, not a juvenile. That's an adult. A what? No, not a gray. What? French angel. Ooh la la. Yes, that is a French angelfish. Now, first of all, Paul Human tip. Easy way to remember this. Remember French's mustard. It's like he's been sprinkled with French's mustard. Oh, yeah. The other thing about angelfish, every angelfish in the world has a spike on their operculum. Okay, that's something important to know. What do we got here? What kind of a fish? Angelfish. Queen angelfish, very good. So once again, we got the spike, and the queen name comes from the crown. In the Sea of Cortez, there's a similar fish, not quite as colorful, with a crown on the front called a king angelfish, but same idea, crown on the top. What do we got here? A trumpet fish. Generally, you just call them trumpet fish. Although there is one very special and rare trumpet fish, that is the Donald Trump at fish, usually found around DC. What kind of fish we got here? Another damselfish. What is the color of the tail? Ergo the name, yellow-tailed damselfish. See how easy this is? Now this one's a little tougher. What kind of a fish do you think this is? It is a wrasse. Notice the pectoral fins. I'll give you a hint. New Orleans. A Mardi Gras wrasse. No, not a Mardi Gras wrasse. This is a Creole wrasse. Now, the cool thing is, if you go, how many people go to Bonaire? Okay. If you go to Bonaire, when I go to Bonaire, I stay at Buddy Dive. So I don't know if this happens all over the island, but at Buddy Dive, in the evening, dusk, 5:30, 6 o'clock, go off the house reef, about 30, 40 feet deep, sit there. There will be, 100,000 of these wrasses. They're just a constant stream of wrasses heading north. I have no idea where they're going or why they're doing it, but I've been seeing this pretty regularly for 15 or more years. If you go out on my YouTube channel, which I think is like YouTube Ken Kurtis or whatever, type in River of Fish. I've got about a 5-minute video. All it is these fish zipping on by. What's common here? They're both wrasses. So that's our Creole wrasse from Bonaire. That's our sheephead wrasse from here. How about this one? What kind of a fish? Grunt. Yep. Grunts and snappers sort of interchangeable. And that is 𝘿𝘼𝙏𝙀 once again, a French grunt. Very easily confused with the blue stripe grunt. So notice with the blue stripe grunt, you got that dark markings on the tail and on the upper dorsal. But again, at a glance, this is why if you can take a picture, do so. And when you get back, really look at the books, because those two will be very easy to confuse. Final go round here. Indo-Pacific. What kind of a fish is this to start with? Butterfly, correct. What do you notice about the color of the anal fin? Nope, keep going. Below that, redfin. Let's go with redfin. Redfin butterfly fish. Oh, it's orange. What, do you two know each other or something? Whether you like it or not, it's a redfin butterfly. What kind of a fish? Also a butterfly. Very common, all kinds. You find them all over Hawaii. Any vertical wall you dive, there'll be hundreds and hundreds of them. What's the shape of the white in the middle? How about a pyramid butterfly? There's a night version of that as well. What kind of a fish? Some sort of a butterfly. What do you notice about the patterning on the body? How about lattice? Okay. So a lot of times these common names sort of make sense. Sometimes they don't. What kind of a fish? An angel? Correct. Anyone know which type of angel it is? No and no. Is it no? How about a regal? There's a regal, there's a royal, there's a lot of different angelfish. But again, notice the spike on the operculum. Every angelfish has that. What we got here? Clownfish. Clownfish and anemone fish, interchangeable terms. Do you know which ones? What is not a skunk? And it's easy. The skunk, the stripe goes all the way down to the nose, and there's nothing on the side. These are actually pinks. And a lot of times you'll find the pink in a big anemone with domino damselfish. Those are the little black guys. They're so cute. What we got here? Another clownfish. What kind? It's Nemo! But here's what you don't know. He's a false clownfish. Go figure. Who would have thunk? I don't know why it's considered a false clownfish, because it does everything every other clownfish does. What do we got here? What type of fish? What type of fish? Not a dartfish. It's an anthias, also known as I don't know why, but an orange basslet, but scalefin anthias. Anthias, you're going to usually find top of the reef, hundreds and thousands of them, and they'll sort of be pulsing around. And again, photographically, get them to pulse in together. You get a nice shot of a tight group of anthias. This is one of the few scientific names I know. Okay. The common name, don't know why. Love the blue lips though. Headband humbug. And I can easily remember 𝙊𝘿𝘾𝘼𝙏𝙄𝙊𝙉 reticulatus. It just flows right off the tongue. Why, that's a 𝙊𝘿𝘾𝑼𝑑𝑢s reticulatus. So anyhow, who said dartfish? We got dartfish. What? Not a red tailer. Fire dartfish. Correct. Usually find, is that orange enough for you? Usually find them in pairs, sometimes even 3, 4, 5 little families of them. And their sole purpose in life is to frustrate you as a photographer, that when you get in the right position, they go, and that down they go. Boy, do they dart fast. Yeah. Fire. I've never heard, I've just never heard them called a red tail. This is one of my favorite dartfish shots. Boy, this one was hard to get. So look at them that way, and that's my head on, and you wouldn't know it's the same thing. We've also got another species of dartfish that's very commonly found, a little tougher to photograph. Two-tone dartfish. They're usually moving around the reef a lot more, and a lot of times when they're swimming, those dorsal fins go down tight, and there'll a lot of times be 3 or 4 of them going around. And the other one that I just think is absolutely gorgeous, this is the one that's found 100 feet or deeper. This is in the Maldives, the elegant dartfish, and a lot of times they're in pairs as well. So that gives you your full range of. There's actually a lot more dartfish as well, but those are the 3 most common ones. So the thing for you to remember, the takeaway here, is get a bunch of books, look through said books, remember our easy 6-point system: color, size, shape, resting or swimming, distinguishing marks, how do they move, depth, habitat, and then practice, which means go dive. The more you dive, the more you see, the more you know. And the cool thing about really learning the names of the fish, the trick with seeing unusual things is not only being in the right place at the right time, but your brain will start to filter out, like here, all the Garibaldi, the blacksmith, and the kelp bass, and suddenly you'll realize that fish doesn't belong here. What is that? And that's how you'll learn and find new things. So the fish thank you for your rapt attention. I do as well. Thank you so much.